Hey everybody, it's Andy again from the EduTechie interview series here at OETC. It is our, second day. It's Thursday. Today we had the keynote session by Dr. Young Zhao, and I have some teachers with me, Katie Henry, Helen Vassiliou, curriculum specialist, and Becky Tompkins, also curriculum specialist in Katie's fourth grade, in case I didn't say that. Tell us about, you saw the keynote presentation, tell us your thoughts on the keynote.
The keynote really struck home, and I appreciated that it was digging deep and understanding students as learners. So one thing that I came away with was the quote that we don't want students to be individuals who say, I know what to do when you tell me what to do. But instead, really thinking about how can we capitalize on the students as individuals and allowing them to be entrepreneurs, allowing them to see a need and really begin empowering them to fulfill that as they move forward as students.
And I think along with that, just the emphasis on the individuality of the student in collaboration with one another. We can't foresee what the jobs of the future really are, so our goal has to be to draw out the skills that each student brings to us. Schools need to be ready for students. Students don't need to be ready for us. We need to be ready for them and helping them to develop their full potential.
And Andrew, as we were talking about our current curriculum that we're writing, we're creating digitally enhanced courses. We're really thinking about that whole creativity aspect, allowing students to create their own learning environments that they organize. And it's moving away from math and science and more into, can they use technology? Can they create movies? When we saw a session on YouTube, we thought, what could we take from Dr. Zhao's creativity and combine it with making movies and films with kids?
I love that Dr. Zhao made the assumption that all students are creative, that all students have that potential that in schools we don't capitalize on all of the time. But the assumption that students come to us as creative, and our job is to enhance that creativity and to take them from their creative beginnings and have them blossom so they're creative global citizens.
Yeah, and that brings me back to, I think one of his last points was almost have students have their own, he didn't say it, but IEP or individualized learning plan. You as in the trenches people, can that happen?
And that's always the challenge too, to think there's a class of 28 students and how to design lessons where it's completely individualized. But I think teachers are pretty intuitive about that they're in this profession because they know their students as individuals and that they can take that information and, again, be student driven, be teachers who are reactive and proactive from the perspective of their students.
Absolutely, and as a fourth grade teacher, I do this every day in my classroom. This is something I live. In our classroom we have an integrated studies time that we call invention time. This is when students are using their math skills, using their reading skills, they're applying them, and as the question arises, they're empowered to go after the information, to go down the hall and talk to a science teacher, or to get online and Skype with somebody in a university school of engineering and applied science. These things are happening in schools. Teachers are doing the best they can to make these things happen. It's with this kind of testing and things that Dr. Zhao talked about, they're really narrowing the focus. Teachers themselves are trying to open up the focus and say, let's look at our students. Let us do what we do best, which is get to know our students and empower them to be the best they can be.
And Andrew does start with his notion of entrepreneurship and teachers being risk takers and curriculum and saying what kind of opportunities can we create. One of the questions that he posed that we were kind of giggling about is, what would be the warning label on your curriculum package? And that's something to really think about because what are we restricting kids from? And I think that was an eye-opening question that, I know together on our team, that's something we're going to explore.
Yeah, I think you call it the side effects.
Yes,
one of the side effects, which I thought was a powerful analogy.
Yes.
Let's go beyond just what are you seeing at the conference, outside of the keynote? What have you seen? What have you liked? What do you want to see today?
I've learned a lot about Google, which has been awesome, and we have some ideas on how we can take Google Hangouts to do virtual professional development. We are in a district of 20,000 students, 22 buildings, so it was a really great way for us to kind of figure out how to do 3D.
we missed a session on augmented reality, but I'm very intrigued with that and how to use that instructionally. I think what I'd like to see is really thinking about how these technological pieces can be infused, not just something that's over current instruction, but something that is embedded and infused and is such a part that it doesn't even seem like, oh, it's cool, we get to use technology today, that this is what student experience is. So seeing classrooms and teachers who do that, where it's just the norm, it's not the fun thing that we do, this is our classroom, this is our world.
And the best thing about the conference is kids are here.
Yes.
I mean, how
That's
great
exciting.
is students
That's exciting.
part of this? I've never been to a conference where kids have been active participants.
Yes.
From my perspective, teaching in fourth grade, one of the biggest aspects of the conference has been the emphasis on gaming. Virtual worlds, like you mentioned, augmented reality. I think gaming is so much more than sitting in front of a computer or a console and clicking buttons. This idea of like a narrative construction of reality, we tell stories to make sense of our world. And if we want to empower kids with an ability to understand, we enter that through storytelling. And what better way to do that than through gaming, having them design the games, thinking about the game construct. And I think this is kind of a big part of why I was actually able to win the Outstanding Technology Using Teacher of the Year award for ITIP.
Congratulations.
For ISTE this year. I was really honored to
That's awesome.
be called up on stage yesterday and was really thankful and grateful for that. But, you know, it's having the time, making the time for these things to happen in our classrooms. Teachers have so much that we are trying to shoulder. We're trying to shoulder the burden so we can still make space for these things to happen. And I'm blessed to work in a district with administration that supports that space, that makes space for that to happen. But I know that not all districts, are blessed like I am at Brookville. So those are the questions. Teachers, we're shouldering burdens, we're looking to the future, we're trying to still make this space the best that it can be for kids. And conferences like this empower us with that energy to go back and make that space happen.
You mentioned that Google was something that you were interested in. Are you using Chromebooks, or are you using Chrome as a platform in your schools?
We are not using Chrome as a platform, but amongst our team, we've had some really great collaborative sessions using Google. So amongst the smaller team, we're learning and launching at the same time.
Great. What would you like to see? You mentioned a little bit already, but any other things you'd like to see in the future at the conference coming next year?
I'd like there to be more emphasis on coding. I thought, the little of what was available for coding and coding for girls, so that was great. Those sessions were so full. I think that could be a huge experience.
Yes.
And not just coding for girls or simple coding, but maybe even take it a level deeper. I also thought the robotics packages were amazing, and that's something that we would like to bring to our gifted department. We think that's just a tremendous opportunity.
Absolutely. One thing I hope to bring next year is an emphasis on 3D printing in the elementary classroom. In my classroom this year, we received a 3D printer through a Donors Choose website. That was a website I set up in the first part of the year. And so every day my students are designing on tinkercad.com, printing their designs, prototyping, their innovation. And that's a real part of our classroom. Through all of this, with the standards changes, etc., these things are still happening. And I'd like to be able to show how that's happening in my classroom, because I think some really good things are going on.
Well, and I think that taps into what Dr. Zhao was saying, is that we need to create an entrepreneurial mindset, I think was what he had said. And it sounds like you're doing great things, and it sounds like you're doing that. It's great meeting you, and it's time for the speaking question.
Let's go.
All right, who wants to click the button for the first one? You got each person
Here we go.
gets
Oh
one.
gosh, I'm going to
I hope it's a Star Trek
I hope
question.
I'm going to ask you.
Star
Wars! Oh, stop with Star Wars. Mac, PC, or Chromebook? Chromebook. I've just started using Chromebooks with my students. I love them. There's incredible potential, and I can't wait to find out more.
100% Mac.
You have to do a new question.
Yeah, but
Well, no, you
Oh,
can all answer the same question.
I have Mac envy, so I want what I don't have. So Mac.
All right. Click the next one. Anticipation. Oh, this is a good one. Favorite education blog. It's a tough one.
There are some really good technology ones that are really good to read.
I like Middleweb.
Yes.
This one writes a great blog just about code-teaching partnerships amongst professionals. I think that's just a great outlet for you to kind of learn and not be apprehensive to try different partnerships that are still learning. So,
Middleweb.
it's a great blog.
Let's check that one out. Impressive. Favorite
Yeah,
blog?
I I am a flitterer around blogs, so I tend to, find topics that I'm interested in, and then find my blogs that way. So yeah.
And I have a friend that writes a blog named Julia Biliak, and I just, whatever she's writing, that's what I'm reading.
Do you know what her title of the blog is?
It's Julia Biliak.
Okay. How do you spell her last name?
Biliak.
Okay. I'll take a look at that. Okay, last.
Last
Let's
one.
do it, Becky. Star Trek, Star Trek.
I know, exactly. Oh!
Wait. There we go. Oh, we hit the same
Okay,
boat. Sorry.
okay. No.
We'll try it again.
I think that's it. Favorite social network.
I love Instagram.
Really?
I
That's
love the
interesting.
idea of a picture capturing a moment or a feeling, and not having the support of words that are there. That it's so image driven.
It taps into that meme
Yes,
culture that we
yes.
all can rally around
Yes.
the image and feel something
Yes.
and connect with
Right.
it. I'm going to actually echo that.
Mhm.
When I took a trip to a conference recently, I made an Instagram account for my class while I was gone for a few days, and I was uploading pictures of my travels, and the kids were logging in on during the school day and actually following me as I was traveling. So it's really intuitive.
I'm a Twitter addict.
Me too.
All day
With you.
long, all night long. I have learned, I read so many things. I'm exposed to so much in a non-threatening but curious way, and connecting with people. I've connected with people at the conference that I haven't physically met, but then I'll see them in a session. And the resources people share, I've tweeted all kinds of things. I just
Found a great breakfast spot this morning.
great breakfast spot here in
Through
Columbus.
Twitter.
I just think it's a safe way to just kind of connect.
As you mentioned, a couple things. Safe, which I think some teachers don't feel it's a safe way to connect. But I think also just my experiences working with teachers, a lot of them are afraid of Twitter because they think it's just entertainment. But again, you've kind of pointed out the true value of Twitter is who you're following. And,
Yes.
I mean, it's almost too much information.
Yes.
But
Yes.
once you create, and Richard Byrne, I think, talked about this, one of the keynotes yesterday, talked about creating lists. And those lists can be really important because those can help filter down your search
Yes,
results and
yes.
that sort of thing. So, I'm with you
Love
on
it.
Twitter. Instagram is interesting because students are so tapped into Instagram.
Yes.
And I didn't think that was really an adult kind of thing. But again, it is so powerful when you think of what
Yes,
images can
absolutely.
do. And that's what
Yes.
kids are seeing immediately.
Yes.
We're getting there. So I like the idea of Instagram. So, all right, well, thank you.
It's been a
Enjoy the rest of
pleasure,
your
Andrew.
conference.
Thank
and,
you so much.
I'll post this up.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.